we should be able to do fucking this, and then we should be fucking live almost. Are we live yet? We're going?
Wheels are turning,
it's fetching.
baby.
Fetching,
Shit's
darling.
getting sexual.
It's connecting to the things and the stuff.
Oh, here we go. I got a notification on YouTube that says
live
we're
on YouTube?
fucking magical.
We're live on YouTube.
I'm going to let everyone on Instagram know it's happening also.
Welcome, motherfuckers, to Behind the Fourth Wall with always this fucking guy. And now we've got this fucking guy. Host of Robbing the People, the one and only Rob Morris, everybody.
What's up, you motherfuckers?
Finger guns. But we have maybe one of my favorite new people to come to Fourth Wall. We have Boogiewhip, everybody.
Hello.
Fantastic guy. We're doing a little Instagram.
Is that a selfies?
Yeah,
Stop
this is for
it.
Insta.
Hey.
Oh, were you recording a video?
Hey.
Oh my god. All right, guys. Let's see what we got going on here. Oh my god. Hello, everybody.
So,
also,
yeah.
if people who haven't tuned in a while, I cut my hair. You're welcome.
It looks great. He did it himself.
I did cut my hair myself, which I had on a hood, so it looks a little weird. Doesn't matter. It's time to talk about Boogiewhip, everybody. Boogie, introduce yourself to the fine camera people.
Hi, everybody. I'm called Boogiewhip. You might recognize me from the band Hot Sauce Holiday. It was a really crazy cabaret rock and roll show, punk band.
Sounds like an experience more than a band.
It was really more of an
absolutely.
experience than a
Sounds
band.
dope.
It's true. What else do you want to know about me? There's so many things.
There are so many things, which is why me and Rob, like you were on Robbing the People on Sunday, did a fun little interview segment. The longest interview we've done, I believe.
Yeah, that's true because we and I want to say this. I'll plug this really quickly. We have a great segment we're going to do with Alex Kane next week, which is a brand new thing we're going to do on the regular called Kane Complains. Yeah, but we didn't get it cut quite in time, which was actually serendipitous because we got to do an extended interview with you, and the panel got a little bit longer too. So it was win-win-win.
Sorry.
Nice.
Was we just hear ourselves through here? Oh my god! Yeah, so I'm glad we got to
Cool.
see more of you, Mr. Boogiewhip, because it's always fascinating.
Thank you.
This
Yeah.
man has a hell of a story.
Mm-hmm.
I want to back off a little bit because I got to talk to him for 22 minutes, and
I
they
know.
can go watch that whole thing.
But
So
yeah.
I'm gonna let you.
I was
hold the reins.
sitting right where I am right now as I was like secondhand listening to the interview, so I didn't get enough one-on-one Boogiewhip time.
Right. I was
So now
like,
I'm happy
I'm gonna
you
give
can be on
Travis
my
the
show.
fucking reins, and you can actually get all the questions. I'm sure back here you were like,
No, and during the interviews I never do my secondhand hosting thing because I don't want to just that, and most people forget I'm back here,
Right.
Which is funny, by the way. And then I just say something, and they go, "Jesus fucking Christ," because I'm just a booming voice from the back. But you have a bunch. Where do you currently work?
That's the build-up question.
Yeah.
bad start.
I do a lot of different things. I'm a personal organizer, which
That-
means
that
I
one?
mentioned that before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Graphic designer.
Cool.
Oh God, what else do I do?
I think with your look, by the way, I was thinking about that. You said that.
Yeah.
I was like, does he design graphics, or are you just a very graphic regular designer? You know what I mean?
I designed lamps.
Yeah, but he does it in a very graphic way with a gigantic handprint on his head.
Wow, did you hear that? I like to
We
think.
have a notification, gues. I'm
Yeah, on
glad-
Instagram. That was me tagging us. Just
Oh, really?
now. Yeah.
I just
yeah,
like
yeah.
to. I like to think of myself as the design.
That's the
See,
designer.
Yeah. Okay,
fair.
and then the other thing I do is I direct and I perform in fetish porn. Yes,
That's the one, motherfucker.
that's the one.
what I was
Everybody's so curious. I'm like, I'm a great graphic artist.
Right. Yeah. It's a hard sell.
Trust
dude.
me.
Yeah, I know.
That's a hard sell in
And
contrast.
we'll talk about that in time, but first,
Yeah.
porn. Because
This-
you've described it on stage from time to time, and it's interesting because it seems like you don't even really have sex with anybody.
No,
It's fascinating.
no.
Now, I
it's
want to clarify something really quick before we get into that, because we did talk about that on the show Sunday, and we got into a little bit of like what I believe what you called it, hetero fetish porn.
Uh-huh.
Was that the okay?
Yeah.
So no, I want to get the names right because I think getting the clarification and the labels in porn is very important.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like
In my searches.
I'm the one who calls it hetero fetish porn, just because.
yeah,
yeah,
that's
just
your
because I'm getting.
clarifier.
So it's like it's just funny to me, but no, I mean it's.
So if you had sex in porn at all,
Have I?
Yeah.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm
No.
sorry.
What?
Yang just wants to know how big that D be.
How big that D? Who
Can
wants
she
to
be
know?
more specific?
Yang is she's a comic. She's fantastic.
Oh.
And she also likes to harass the shit out of my podcast via
Oh my
comments.
God.
Can she be more specific about which D she'd like?
Which all three of the D?
All the D's?
There's
all the
more
Ds?
than one D.
You want us to
involved.
braid the D's?
Hold on, Yang. We're
We're gonna braid the D's.
it would be a French braid then, right? There's three.
I think it's only French if it tucks under, right? Isn't that how that one works?
I mean, sometimes you get tuck under, man. You live in your life.
Shit. People ask me to do that all the time.
I bet they do.
It's like, yeah, well, yeah.
Give me. Okay.
All of them, she said.
So no, but there.
Use
So
your hands. All of them.
What?
All of them. She specified already.
oh, she wants all of them. Oh, well.
I don't know why
go
she
get
doesn't
the
just come out
yardstick.
from the back. Like, I know she's back there.
She's back there.
Yang, are you
Honey,
back
just
there
pop
stalking
out.
us?
She's masturbating back there,
That's what we do.
using her hands,
That's the.
using her hands back there. Damn, that was dumb. that was a dumb fucking
I
thing.
like
funny.
it a lot.
I enjoyed that thoroughly.
I don't spend too much time trying to figure out where it all comes from. You know what I mean? I just
No,
let
if
it
you
happen
do that,
and
then
enjoy
they
it.
ruin the comedy. It's like watching a magic show and being like, "I bet he's got doves in his pants." It's like, no,
Oh no, he burst into
It's just
crows
funny.
at the end of the night.
that was the best.
That was amazing when
I
they
was
said
sitting-
that. I wish that I could.
Right?
Yeah.
I told him 'cause it was actually Rojan Kim who made that comment sitting right in front of me, and
And tell them what we're talking about.
Yeah.
What
Okay,
did he
on
say?
robbing the people during the interview, he said he looks like he appears everywhere in a puff of smoke and then leaves by turning into a bunch of crows.
Yeah. That was a YouTube comment about.
And I told him
Boogiewhip's
the moment
interview.
you said goodbye, I was like, "Wait, guys, he's gonna turn into crows," and they all just, and then nothing
Yeah.
happened. We were really sad.
Man.
Yeah. Well, you set
Yeah.
a high bar. It's hard to get up there.
It is.
Yeah.
Using my toes. Yang,
Okay,
Jesus
Yang
Christ.
says at the same time, using my toes.
Using my toes.
Oh, you're
What,
jerking
to
off with your
masturbate?
toes? What? That's impressive.
I'm just gonna put it up in me.
Yeah. That was gonna be my answer too.
Good job.
I was thinking
Good
the same
job.
thing.
I was gonna say mine's about 1/2 ferret. You know what I mean? That's my
A
length.
half a ferret? A ferret's
Yeah.
can get longer.
Well, and I don't include the tail.
Is it nice and soft and furry like a ferret?
Yeah, it depends on the time of
You
day
fucking
and
ferret
year.
dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As it gets cold,
You
so
fucking
you,
ferret.
Don't get
dick.
like 8th grade flashbacks.
Does it do that hop thing away from you, like a ferret?
You know what the thing is that it got the comparison is that it loves to chase through tubes. You know what I mean?
Get the fuck out of here! Get the fuck out of here!
Oh, I have a song about tubes. You want to hear it?
Of course.
Okay. They should make a tube that sends you straight to work. We'd never be late for work again, but there'd sure be a lot of tubes.
That sounds so
stupid.
familiar.
Oh, dude, I like some
Stupid.
Wow, I think it was my ringtone once upon a time. Fucking- They still have callback tones.
Yeah.
Ringback tones. Is that what they were called? We all have giant penises, Yang. So
Yeah, that's the answer.
yeah.
Mine is humble, to be honest.
Michael Regilio says
Well, you work in porn,
that Boogiewhip looks like he collects scalps.
dude. You do have a very. Is that like a native inspired kind of look you got going on there?
No.
Yeah, let's
Well,
talk
you
about
wanna-
that.
you
I
wanna
haven't
know what
asked you
that
about
is?
that at all. Let's talk about the look
You did spend 20 minutes not addressing the handprint on the head.
or his name. I didn't ask
Or you
about
did-
either
yeah,
of
or
those
anything.
why your
things.
name. Yeah, these are all better
I-
questions.
I
No,
just
those are surface level things. I'm getting into the real shit.
I just-
fair
I-
enough. Fair enough.
Let's scratch the surf.
I just appeared in a puff of steam, and here I am.
Puff of steam.
I grew up in a cult.
Right.
I don't know, to whoever that matters, and
To everyone.
so
I love that.
the handprints basically like for me when I finally got out of it and I kind of like
Right.
looked back at well, what the fuck was that I came from? None of those people had much individuality to them.
Mm.
And I
fair.
think it's kind of fascinating that everybody has like different fingerprints. Like
Okay.
to me, that would be like the one and only like kind of cool argument that there is a god of some sort. And I kind of feel like our purpose is to be our individual handprints.
Oh, word
Oh,
up. I like
neat.
that.
And so like I just started putting the it's always my hands. Like I
Right.
put them on. Nobody else can
And you
ever
put
do
it on in the morning. This is for anyone watching or seeing you for the first time. This is not a tattoo. This is a
No,
thing
it's
that you
just paint.
apply,
I put them
right?
on. Yeah, every day, kind of based on what I'm wearing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
What determine? I've seen you with 2 hands.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what determines a 2-hand day versus a 1-hand day?
that's a great question.
Nothing really. Just kind of
Impulse.
depends on.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
Yeah, it depends on how I'm feeling, but yeah.
dig
So
that.
it represents individuality, and I in my band Hot Sauce Holiday. I wear them all over. I have them like on my
What do you
chest
play
and
in
the
the
shoulders.
band?
I'm the lead singer.
Oh,
Fuck
word
yeah.
up, dude.
Oh, of course you
Yeah.
got to be a
front man.
And
I too was a frontman.
Can't bury this guy
Oh.
in the back of the stage
no.
behind some.
I know if you were the
drum kit like a
drummer, they'd
bitch,
be like, "All right, everyone move. I want to
Right.
see what's going on back there."
right?
I try to play the
Phil
bongos
Collins,
for a
yeah.
while, and I can't do that. So, but I'm a great dancer.
Okay, so I want to know the.
I really
no
am.
doubt about
I
that
no
whatsoever. That
100% believe you're a good dancer.
Oh, I used to be a go-go dancer too. Have I
Oh
ever
snap! No, I
Where?
never heard you talk
No.
about being a go-go dancer.
Up in Sacramento at a place called Faces.
Okay,
Oh,
word.
This
Yeah.
was
well,
like 10 years ago. But,
Gay bar.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I went 5 years ago.
but
No.
You know, it's interesting.
Oh.
I hear a lot of times from a lot of gay people that complain that most of the go-go dancers seem to be straight dudes.
Is that a thing?
Is that a thing?
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What
that's
is
a
that
thing.
about?
It's kind of easier for them to, like, basically a lot of gay guys, like they want their men, or like the fantasy of the guy on the box, like he's got to be kind of butch.
Oh, fair.
He's got to be masculine, and so it's like for a lot of them, if there's like a trace of like femme or something, like they don't really like it that much.
Wow.
Interesting.
But I don't know. But it's also, we're also kind of in a weird flux time right now where I feel like maybe that's changing a bit, just because we're an alphabet now. There's no more gay, straight, or bi.
Right.
Um,
We're an alphabet. I
we're
like
an
that.
alphabet
Yeah,
now,
there's
yeah.
a lot going on in that department.
Yeah.
What's that say over there, Trav?
Somebody put get up on the table and demonstrate.
Jesus Christ.
We're not going to do that. And
It's
then
not that
someone put-
wide of a
Someone
camera
also
angle.
put
Demonstrate how to
Richard
braid our
Mateus.
D's.
How do I get to this gay shit? Are you asking how you got to this video, or
Like on the
specifically
inside?
you want to know where he used to go dance to that gay
That's
shit?
a but,
Oh,
or
is
just
that
in your
where you
heart.
wanna go?
What to
Just
say?
how do I get to this gay
if
shit?
you mean it in that way, then we'll tell you. If you mean it in a negative way, I'll fucking fight you.
I'm gonna make you lick the salt from my asshole, baby.
Yeah, he keeps a lot of salt in there.
Yeah. All right. You seem to be hopefully not an ignorant douche. If you are, I'll find you.
No, that person sounds very, very excited about the gay shit.
Oh, yeah, he wants to get to the gay shit, man.
Yeah.
That's like that sounds like a frat
okay.
bro coming into a party being like, "Yo, where's that gay shit? Let's do this."
Oh my God, that's a fucking. Speaking of that, like you get a. Oh, I'm
No, I'm
talking.
excited.
Like you get on Grinder. Both of you were on Grinder, right?
Of course.
Of
Yeah,
course.
sure.
That's the one for the sandwiches?
yeah.
Hoagies and grinders.
Hoagies and Grinder. I'm gonna put your hoagie in my mouth.
Oh, navy beans, navy beans.
But anyway, you get on Grinder now, and it's kind of funny because it's like there are so many, like everything has a title on it, right?
Oh, word.
Like I'm the Mr. King or Mr. Big or whatever, and then like there's so many like fucking bro names on Grinder now.
Oh, on Grinder you have a handle? You have
yeah,
like
you have a handle. That's
Oh,
what
word.
I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I'm
funny
fucking
that
stoned.
I use
I'm
that
like,
word.
yeah,
Yeah, handle
you have
like
a handle
You have
on
more than
Grinder.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what's the old the trucker thing, or whatever, like candy
that's what
cane.
they
Yeah,
called it,
love that movie, Joyride.
Yeah,
Fuck
candy
yeah.
cane.
Yeah.
Were you at candy cane? I love that. That was a great.
I don't think I'd be what you expect. Well, you're a man with a heart. That's all I expect.
Damn, I know that movie well. I
that's
love that
one of
I've
my
never seen it,
favorites.
but I'm
Dude, it's an
super
incredible
hard.
movie.
So
the same
good.
guy who is Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs.
I know
He does the voice.
you
great big fat person.
Yeah.
Well, he also
Ted
is famous
Levine.
for Ted Levine.
Ted Levine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Levine.
Levine.
I grew up in a cult, all ignorant and shit. I'm just doing
the guy
my
who
best.
was asking for the gay shit asked, "Are you full of shit you really grow in cult?" And that's
Yes,
what
I
he-
did.
Yeah, he did.
Yes, I really fucking
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, I 100. Let's see.
That's
here.
why they invited me here. I get
Among
that and
other
to talk
reasons.
about the weird porno thing. And
Oh,
like the cult and the
Lee,
porn, and we enjoy your
Lee wants to
company.
know
That's
where
why
you
you're
can
here.
he can see your band. Do you guys still play?
we're on kind of a hiatus right now.
Oh.
We're making some new stuff, so we're not really playing.
Get a website,
but,
Instagram kind of thing.
yeah, if you hotsauceholiday.com, Hot Sauce
website.
Holiday, Instagram, Facebook. We have
everywhere.
everywhere. We have a music video. It's called Germs.
Germs.
Yeah,
Sounds nasty.
that's our biggest song.
Speckle that in.
Yeah, so you can just look up Hot Sauce Holiday anywhere. You should be able to find us. Spotify, iTunes.
Bam, Lee, you got that shit.
Yeah.
Hot
Cool.
Sauce Holiday. What's the name? Hot Sauce Holiday. Where's that come from?
That was our guitarist. That was the name of his band when he was in college, like somewhere in Middle America back in 06.
It was like a reboot.
Yeah, and then he
Oh,
basically
yeah.
like moved to LA, and then at the time I didn't know this guy, and I was like hosting karaoke someplace, and I sang Prince.
Kinky karaoke.
Oh, we can talk about that too. This was a different karaoke.
Oh, that was regular karaoke.
really?
This was
karaoke.
regular karaoke, and this like funny guy from Wisconsin comes up to me, and he was like, "Yeah, you got a great voice. Do you want to be in a band?" And I was, I love him. And anyway, and I said, "Sure, I'll be in a band, but if we're gonna do it, I want to put some stank on it."
Sure.
And he was like, "I don't know what that means, but swell."
I don't think anyone in Wisconsin is allowed to know what put some steak on it.
I don't.
That's too north.
And not since the accident.
Stank is just ranch. Yeah.
The accident when they found out. But anyway, so we just kind of.
Wait, hold on. Richard's talking again. He says, "I think you guys are gonna suck each other's dicks, but that's just me. Pull out your cocks, boys."
Damn, right now? Right now?
I feel
What
like
about all the kids that are watching? They hate sex.
I feel like we didn't get as far into this before that happened.
I know.
As I expected.
No, we were. How deep are we? We're only like 16 minutes in. The dick sucking comes at least minute 45.
Man, if
okay?
you're going to do that, you got to give me your fucking credit card number, bitch.
Yeah.
Like, this shit ain't free. You want to see that shit? Come
It
on.
doesn't work like that.
You got to pay for that shit.
This guy's not like your average street whore like Travis and I. This is top shelf
This man
ass.
gets paid for this shit.
Come on.
Okay,
I
I
s-
just
I-
need food sometimes.
Shit. I suck Donald Trump's dick.
Yeah.
Storms
He's like
Daniels.
He's like 3 degrees of separation from the tiny orange mushroom.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what that means.
It was like tongue in a
you
little
do.
piece of a
Oh,
cutie
penis,
orange.
tiny orange penis. Oh.
Yeah. Just tongue in a little cutie orange slice. Boop. That's how you know it's real.
Oh, yeah, he reenacted it and everything. Shit's real as fuck.
Damn, hella giggly over there. Jesus.
Yeah. I smoked a lot of weed before.
I know
came
there was.
here.
I feel the presence of weed in here.
Yeah,
It's so heavy.
My
Yeah,
pores.
There's a lot. I'm what I call LA sober right now, which means I'm real high on marijuana. That's
Oh
what
yeah,
it means.
so I've been
Yeah.
trying to get Travis to
Try cocaine.
No,
Wait,
no,
yeah.
It's incredible.
So-
it's exactly
I know,
we're on
it's
the
so
other.
fucking great.
It's literally the best time ever. It's too good of a time. Never do it.
God.
I was explaining to someone recently, and I told Travis this already. I was like, I started a mic the other day of saying like I'm basically like becoming the John Mulaney of this place, not because of talent or because of the suit, just because there's enough Pete Davidsons here threatening to kill themselves that I'm constantly trying to talk them into living a normal life and
Hey,
not
listen,
go
you
off
don't
the
have to be
rails.
drunk all the time.
I'm like, we could watch Netflix and chill.
I think that guy's trying to fuck me.
Yeah, exactly.
They usually are.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just want to get everyone high and have them calm down.
Me too.
He is a man who's he's been preaching the benefits of the marijuanas to me, and I've never. I smoked a lot when I first moved here, and then like kind of fizzled
you
out.
really? We
yeah,
didn't really
yeah,
talk about that.
Yeah, when I lived here for a year back in 2013, and I was high all the time,
Yeah.
and I felt pretty good, and then I kind of stopped in Ohio because Ohio just made CBD oil fucking illegal. Ohio's the most ass backwards fucking place on the planet.
Wait, they just made it illegal?
Made CBD oil, which is not psychoactive, illegal in Ohio. Now,
Well, it
doesn't-
was
it's
illegal
not-
for the longest time, and then I think that they had a farm bill.
CBD
in,
oil
like,
was actually
2014.
never illegal
Really?
in Ohio.
Oh,
Or
okay.
most places, honestly, because they didn't have THC. And then because of pot becoming illegal everywhere else, they
That's
had
so
two
interesting.
laws on the ballot that had make
Because I know in North Carolina when I lived there, because I taught at a school for kids with like learning disabilities, and we had a few little kids with epilepsy, and
You would give them CBD oil and
their parents wanted very badly to give them CBD oil because they had heard the studies and everything, but
Yep.
there were laws in North Carolina that changed while I lived there that prohibited it, and then it became available, and it was amazing because I actually, as a pot advocate, now I get to say firsthand No, I knew a little girl, and she had epilepsy, and I used to watch her walk down the hall and just fall down.
Yeah.
And, like, we had to put a helmet on this girl, not because she had some, like, mental deficiency, but because she would lose consciousness.
Yeah, like
And
girls with narcolepsy and shit.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like then they put her on CBD, and the seizures were so dramatically reduced that it's like
Yeah, it's
if you're
ridiculous.
still against that, like
Yeah, and
what
really,
the fuck
I mean,
is the
like,
matter with you?
A lot
Like,
of people don't like giving, full fucking THC to people with seizures, but when like with kids anyway.
Sure.
But when adults take it, it almost makes it go away completely.
yeah, that's true.
Like for the full THC
The
oil. and
CBD
stuff.
will dampen it tremendously,
Yeah.
but if you add just a little bit of the psychoactive in it, then it like
Yeah, and
it
now
goes
they're
away.
trying to do like the whole like 5 parts to 100 kind of thing, and fucking
really?
just knock it the fuck out, which is so fucking cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
so
weird that
fucking
people
neat,
are
man.
resistant to it. When did you start smoking weed? Is that probably wasn't a thing in your group?
No, it was. Oh, wow. I hadn't thought about it. No, it wasn't. But I actually started like while I was kind of, I guess, getting out of it.
Oh, it was like part of the
Um,
rebellion.
Yeah, when I finally like,
We
yeah,
just seem to always be
kinda
the first
decided
like
to-
little touch of the rebellion. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
totally. The way
I felt
that
like
it's been stigmatized, it's perfect.
Yeah,
for
especially
that.
if people our age and stuff like.
Yeah.
It's a sign of the counterculture.
I felt like
Yeah,
we got higher back then. Like I don't know. Like when I think about, maybe it's because I've been smoking for so long.
Yeah,
now. It's
maybe.
kinda-
No,
yeah,
I'm
but
I don't doubt it.
Tolerance.
yeah, but no, I felt like I got really fucking high back then, and I don't get high like that anymore. I haven't had the munchies in like 10 years.
You
That's
know what,
amazing.
man? I've the munchies have almost went away from me. I feel like, but when I smoke the shit they make out here, I feel like sometimes it's so like it's crafted better.
It is.
Like it just is crafted,
Yeah.
like because some of the stuff you get in Ohio, I'm just like I don't know who the fuck grew this or why.
Yeah,
but, like it makes
absolutely.
me anxious and I'm hungry.
Nervous and tired. You're like,
yeah,
how's
and I'm
this
like
possible?
I don't understand how I'm freaking out, but I can't move.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
this is fucking
Sprinkling
stupid.
crystal meth on top of
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah. I remember going to
Dust from angels.
I remember going to San Francisco like when I was, I don't know, 18 or something, and somebody wanted to sell me weed, and he was like, "Hey, you want some weed? I got some Chris on it.
Oh, nice. Okay,
We got Chris on the weed." That meant crystal meth.
Oh,
see,
shit.
I
That
was
doesn't
like,
sound like a
guy
good
named
mix.
Chris went and got it. I was confused.
We
We got
yeah.
Chris on that shit.
Yeah,
He goes
where's
and
the
gets the
weed?
best shit.
Chris is on it. He'll
Yeah.
be back soon.
Yeah.
But it turns out my friend Chris Corwin, longtime viewer, fantastic comedian.
Oh
in Ohio,
yeah, dedicated
uh,
to this podcast.
He said Dayton just decriminalized weed at least. So
Oh, well, that's good. Dayton, the city?
Yeah, that's the city I claim. Yeah,
No, but I mean like specifically the city.
Dayton
just,
PD.
got it,
yeah,
got it.
but I imagine if you know what, and a lot of the excuse me, like as I was starting to like leave Ohio again, I feel like a lot of the cops just didn't really care that much about weed. Like they just we have such a fucking problem with heroin. Weed is so low on the fucking
Right.
priority list. Like
Yeah.
why would you bug a bunch of kids who's smoking weed when really you could be busting a bunch of kids doing heroin?
Yeah, it's one of those things of where like, people go to rehab for alcohol and then they get out and they're still smoking cigarettes and people are like, "Oh, but you're still addicted to cigarettes." It's like, yeah, but it's a little one at a time. You know what I mean? And it's like
Yeah.
even if you have problems with weed, one at a time. Can we solve the opioid problem
Yeah.
and deal
And
with that?
it's
Because that's
such a more
literally
dramatic
killing
problem,
people.
man.
Yeah.
I think I'm always going to smoke weed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always going to be weed for me.
That's how I've felt since I started. But I
Yeah.
started late. How old were you when you first started smoking weed?
Probably 15 or 16.
Yeah.
No.
What, you same?
Right?
I was 16, yeah.
Yeah, I was like
in,
19, 20.
No, shit, I was 15 when I smoked it the first time, but I didn't smoke at all after I was not in a band in high school. Like from like junior year, senior year, I didn't smoke at all.
So you like had it once or twice or like for
What
was that first
maybe
period?
3 or 4 times.
Okay,
Like,
enough
not a
to
shit
get
ton in
high
high
and
school, yeah.
experiment.
And then started smoking a lot when I turned 22.
I was sober. I got sober when I was 20, and I was sober until I was 26.
Do you mind if I ask
6
sober
years.
from what? Just weed or what else?
Actually, after I started smoking weed and then I got like out of the cold for a couple of years, I
Right.
just went fucking crazy and
Right,
just
right.
kind of everything basically. And then I got
Right.
arrested. I got in trouble.
Do you know what Rumspringer is? Does that word mean anything to you?
Rumspringa, that's Amish. It means run free.
Right, exactly. So when Amish people come of age,
I know what that is.
Yeah.
they're basically it's
Yeah.
like you're allowed to leave home and do whatever
Yeah.
the fuck you want and break
Yeah.
all the Amish rules, and then you have to come back. And when you come back, you make the choice as to whether or not you're gonna come back and
Stay
stay
there or
forever.
not.
Did
Yeah.
you really
or
have
leave.
a thing like that? Like, was there some choice of being able to leave this, or did you have to pretty much forsake your whole fucking family just to get out of there?
No, it wasn't like that. More than it's funny because I have a bunch of friends that came from that same place, and whenever
Yeah.
I go back and visit, I tend to visit with them, and inevitably we all wind up talking about it because we just can't help it.
Yeah,
yeah, it's like me talking about
and
my
we-
shitty hometown. When
Yeah.
it's like we all came from this. You got to fucking
Yeah.
It's not
But
far
we
enough in the rear view.
But
Yeah.
no, we the thing that we kind of always bring up is it's how they treat you when you leave. Like that
Oh,
was the
really?
that was the big thing. It's like, and every cult is different. Some of them will excommunicate you and you're shunned.
Yeah.
Right.
But this one, like, I don't know, ours was more like Scientology in the sense that, like, we weren't living on a commune. We all went back to our homes, but we were all
Right.
very deeply immersed in this thing. And when people would leave or kind of taper off is what started happening once shit just got, hit the fan, which was pretty quick. The way that they would treat you afterwards would kind of, what was the kind, for me, that was part of like, what I mentioned on the podcast the other night watching The Beach as a kid. And that was a big deal to me seeing that movie. And especially like when he disappears and comes back and the way that they treat him when he comes back. Yeah, because that started happening to me. They actually like kicked me. I had a fucking crazy, I had like a succession of things that led to me finally like kind of leaving, and it like ended with me on the 2 big screen TV. Yeah,
Damn.
it was fucking crazy. Like they would embarrass you
Right.
somehow.
Right.
Like
So
if
ultimate
they,
form of shame,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Like for me, it kind of started the leaving process. It started. I think you guys. I've told that story. I kind of turned into a joke about the pastor's son who was a cop who like damaged my chest.
I don't think I've heard that.
I think I heard you say that in the truck.
I was kind of making so this at the time this must have been like 98 or 99 or something. I remember there was a Friday night service, and for us that consisted of people running around the rooms shaking and screaming and
Doing
like
that whole thing.
pouring oil all over the place, and there were swords, and it was just fucking insane.
I didn't see any of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You just up the fuck out of it.
There were swords, and then there was fucking feathers and gold dust falling from the ceiling, and everybody thought
Feathers and gold dust. I remember.
yeah,
the fuck
just
out of that.
crazy shit.
so interesting.
And so anyway, this pastor's son, who was this cop, this fucking big scary guy, he and I start talking. I'm like 15 at the time, and next thing you know, he's praying for me, and he grabs me by the shoulder, and then he takes his other hand like this, and he starts like pressing into my sternum.
What the fuck? Why?
And as later now as an adult, it's because he thought that I was gay. And I found out from interview, like later on in my life, I took a year off my life and I drove up and down California, like kind of meeting people from different cults just to figure out that I was actually in one.
For a year?
For a year.
Oh, wow. That's a long ass time
Yeah.
to do something like that.
It was insane.
I mean, fuck. I mean, why would you? I could see the inherent denial. Like, why would you want to believe that that's what you've been? And
Well, and here's the question. That's a perfect segue into this thing I haven't stopped thinking about too, that I kind of forgot to ask you the other night, and I kind of forgot, and also was like, man, this is a huge question. So what is it about this organization that you were a part of? And I use that word on purpose because what is it about the way this group was structured or what you experienced with them that you say this is a cult? And let's say that I was someone else and I was coming to you with like, I think maybe I would call what I'm in a cult. There are people that I grew up with who would call a Baptist church congregation a cult. You know what I mean? That's what it means to them. It's a bunch of people showing up, believing in stuff that's not real, and they're all really convinced, and they make bold choices based on those things. Like, so where's the line for you between a regular? Because this was a group that purported to be Christian, right? So it's a Christian church. They're practicing Christian church on Sunday. There's a million organizations in this country that do that every single week. Mm-hmm. So what is it about this group that sets it aside? And also, when did you figure that out?
Well,
I know it's a
the
big
thing,
question.
it is a big question, and I have an answer for it, but it's a big answer.
Sure.
And
Perfect.
yeah, it's a really big answer. I think just based on what I came from, based on that year of my life, driving up and down and like just kind of being in different things, they're not all cults are scary. Like what we see on TV. Not all cults are Manson family, Jonestown stuff.
Yeah.
AA is quintessentially a cult.
It is a cult. Yeah.
I loved AA. I still fucking love AA. I drink now. I'm not sober anymore, but I wound up in AA when I was 20, and it was an easy transition because I had literally left the Jesus thing. And then wound up in AA, and it was an easy transition for me because I was used to living in that kind of thing where everybody's
and they
holding.
share a fair amount of Christianity, and they use prayer.
They're not
but their big thing is let people do what they're going to do.
Word.
And that's where you're talking about where is this line?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I find the line. See, the thing is, like, Catholicism is the biggest cult ever. All of these things are cults. Like if we pull up the dictionary definition, every religion, every kind of group, separate, they all, they're all cults.
Yeah.
Right.
But what makes it kind of creepy, what takes it into a questionable place is when, I think, when they ask you to start really sacrificing your individuality.
Right, when they
and really like just buy into this is the mindset, this is who we are, that's when it can go sour. Right, what's the definition?
Do you want to hear the definition?
Yeah.
There's some interesting stuff on here. So obviously there's a few here because we use the word in different ways.
Also, Joseph, real quick, Joseph Finity is back. He's a fantastic man, and you should come to Fourth Wall immediately, Joseph.
Wonderful. So the first thing it says here at the top, before the bullets, the main definition says, a system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object. So in that context that you just described, that lives up to it. If you want to say that most religious congregations are cult-like, that definition certainly
they fall into it.
That. Yeah.
Absolutely. And a thing that I saw too, like, so I wasn't in school from 4th grade until 11th grade. I made fake transcripts for me and my brother to actually get in school, and that was a whole fucking thing.
Were you totally homeschooled at all? But I mean, clearly not by state standards or anything.
No, not at all. There was nothing.
Because you don't seem like you didn't go to school for that long. You seem.
Well, that's educated. What did I say the other night? That's because I fucking worked to get an education. Like
that, and I will say really quickly that goes to a little bit of our, and I say this fairly because I've had the same thing, of our prejudice of what it means to not be educated by our system, as if that's some sort of thing.
That's a good point.
My stepdad, if you met him, you'd never know that he had to drop out when he was like 14 because his dad died and he had to get a job.
And, lied about his age, dropped out at 8th grade, went to the war.
It's funny what we think getting our traditional public education is going to make you into, because it's like, this dude didn't get it and you'd never fucking know. I mean, aside from that. No, but I mean, sincerely,
it's LA. That's not that weird.
No, but it's one of the reasons why I had you on the show. You are very articulate and you are very interesting to talk to, and that is not a product of a public education. It just isn't.
A lot of times, no.
Yeah, I was so, like I was saying the other night, like during that time for me between 4th grade all the way until about 11th grade, when I finally like started kind of getting to hip to, oh my God, this is not right.
Right.
During that time, my mom, who was, God rest her soul, she really did not want my brother nor I to have like any knowledge of the outside world.
Gotcha.
Well, which I think that, if anything, makes something seem more like a cult to me.
Exactly.
Really wanting to know, to know nothing of what's going on out there.
She had this thing about like we needed to lie to everybody who came to us from the outside world about what was going on with our lives. And so as a result, like I'd kind of, from a young age, I developed this like compulsion, this obsession to kind of act as if.
Yeah.
and fake it till I make it. That's a big thing they say in AA.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, because I knew during this time, just suddenly, like, you know, and again, I feel like the beach really kind of helped with that. Again, I knew it's like, I'm eventually going to be an adult and I'm going to have to leave. What the fuck is going to happen out there?
Right.
And so
Writing on the wall.
you know, and so it was like I said, my brother and I, our textbooks that we had, like, I think I had it up to 4th grade, and that was it. Like, my mom stopped ordering our textbooks, like,
Yeah.
after
Right.
Wow.
after 4th grade, and so it was like,
Do you think there was something in there that triggered her not wanting to order anymore? Like maybe some sort of piece of knowledge that she thought would bring you.
oh yeah, well, she was afraid I was going to turn out to be gay.
Wow. See, I mean, that's one of the things. Like,
Yeah.
if you ever, clearly people are born gay, and because of that, like, I feel like a lot of parents start doing. I went to school with a kid who inevitably came out of the closet, but his dad would like torture the poor fucking guy. Like, I put him in football to beat the queer out of him, like shit like that.
Right.
Yep.
So, Jesus, man, I'm sorry all this shit happened.
Oh yeah, but no. So anyway, you know, like for me growing up, it was I would do everything I could to make sure my brother could kind of enjoy a childhood. Because I just have one brother.
What's
He's
the
younger
age
than me.
difference, by the way?
2.5 years younger.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, the only kind of textbook education we have, like, stop at 4th grade, and we're both
Right.
way older than. So we just kind of kept going back and redoing that book
Yeah.
to just try to
Wow.
learn what we could, and then you know, we didn't have cable TV.
Right.
And I mentioned the other night, I would just collect a shit ton of VHS movies. Like, I got a job working at the nursery at this church, and so I would make, like, I don't know, $15 for something, and then I would literally
Right.
go, you know, to Target or usually Hollywood Video. That's something that doesn't
Oh
exist
yeah,
anymore.
I remember Hollywood.
Yeah,
Video.
and they would, you know, they would sell like the old tapes.
Yeah. The
And so
bargain
I
bin
would
or whatever.
like I would buy every like adult interesting, like if it looked like it was some sort of intellectually challenging thing,
Right.
I would just buy it.
I have to say, man, and I'm not trying to be gratuitous here, but I am sincerely impressed with the situation you were faced with and your response to it, because it sounds like at so many turns, and we talked about it on the show the other night the first time, and now I'm hearing more about it, you could have given up, surrendered, you know, so many of these things you were faced with.
I almost
choosing
did
to,
a lot.
Oh, and I don't doubt that you were
Yeah.
faced with more than one opportunity and an ideal scenario in which you could have. But I mean, like, not just getting out or moving on with your life, but finding ways to educate yourself, both on general knowledge you thought you needed as a human being, trying to take care of your brother and keep him entertained, trying to keep both of you educated on a classical way, also trying to educate yourself artistically and be cultured somehow by getting these tapes, and then also having the writing on the wall in your mind of like, oh shit, one day I'm going to have to be a real person outside of this world that's tried to protect me when really it's kept me vulnerable and unable to know what I need.
We got a really good question here from
Yeah.
Lee, dude.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
He says,
Yeah, very
looking
impressed.
back, do you feel like the sheltering created a sort of repression that contributed to your future? And what was the most culture shock thing when you got out?
Oh, that's a great question.
Like, what's the thing that you were like, this is a thing? Holy shit.
All of these questions require big fucking answers, man.
To us.
That's
Take
the
your time,
thing.
man.
This is the first,
This is
you're
why
the
we're
one of the
here.
first
God,
guys that anyone's
there-
asked any questions to.
There-
People were like, you're weird. Show us your dick. So-
I've been out of it now for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 34 years old, and I still
no one looks their age in LA. Jesus
no.
Christ.
Well, that's because we're fucking healthy and whatever. But I'm 34 years old, and there's still shit that it does not click for me.
Like what?
I can't. I hate it when people ask that because
Sure.
it's such a weird, like, it just kind of happens in the moment. A lot of it is I don't know, just kind of regular human stuff that I feel like you learn when you grow up as a you go to school, you interact with these people, there's adults,
Right.
there's kids, there's this and that. Like, I don't know, there've been times when I've kind of like questioned, like, am I autistic somehow? Am I,
Right.
I have PTSD.
Right.
I've had that for years. I have to take medication, and pot helps like nothing else ever could.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah, and so it's like I feel pretty socially awkward still to this day.
Does that relate?
There is a lot of parts of
Yeah.
your brain that really don't develop if you don't get the
Yeah.
social interactions as a kid. I think you probably having a little brother probably socially helped you more than fucking anything. Because
Oh yeah, well it's because I
There's
had
that
to,
comrade
yeah.
in the trenches of that situation
at
for
least
sure.
I would actually. I'm trying to like figure out how to answer this guy's question because people ask me that a lot. Relationships are so strange to me.
Yeah, I never even would have.
They're
thought about
so
that.
strange to me because something that like what I saw growing up, and I kind of mentioned it the other night, and I'll just there was a lot of bizarre psychosexuality that went on behind the scenes with these people. And now as an adult years later, it's like, well, why wouldn't it have been that way?
Right.
When you repress, yes, to whatever the question was about, repressing stuff and how does that affect you? Holy shit, have I seen how it can affect a human when you repress things that are natural?
Right.
Holy shit. And I... Oh, sorry, I gotta take a minute because Jesus Christ,
yeah,
man. But no, relationships for me, it's like I didn't really even understand that I was gay as a kid, and then later
You
on,
really didn't have a concept of what that was.
I had nothing,
Right?
nothing at all, like nothing. And
It's
then
not like you're watching, Sex in the City or any of these TV shows that were normalizing it at the time. Will and Grace, all this stuff that were bringing that into the culture.
yeah,
But
I didn't.
You
I
probably
didn't know
never
what
even
any of it
seen
was.
a man with a man or a woman with a woman, right? I imagine that was pretty much something you never saw.
No,
right?
no, not at all. All I saw was like hetero couples, but, and I mean, this is kind of creepy, but I'll come out and say it.
Sure.
Like, I was one of those kids that was getting fucking molested, and like all the sexual shit was going on.
Yeah, another
And
aspect of bad culty.
Yeah, that's another big thing that comes out.
Was that
And the
happening
thing-
only with older men, or was that also happening with women, or was it?
For me, it was mostly guys, but there were a
Okay.
few mothers.
Sure.
I
I think we take for granted that it would just be older men, but in this environment, I didn't want to take anything. for
the
granted.
thing, he was using the word repressed, something that I finally kind of had to kind of grapple with years later when I would think about that aspect of things. For all intents and purposes, these adults were still 15 years old. They were still
Oh,
children.
that's a really good fucking point. It's so hard to tell old someone is when you were a kid.
It is. And the thing about these adults is so many of them, at the time, this was the baby boomer generation. They were raised with, what the baby boomers were fucking raised with. You were either into the hippie scene or you really weren't. You were a Ronald Reagan,
culture or counterculture, one of the other.
So these people, like, I'm sorry, but they never really developed.
Right.
And so it's like, well, why the hell aren't they going to get in trouble for fucking around with underage folks?
Right.
They hear you have an adult in her 40s. And she's going and she gets caught. She gets fucking in trouble for fucking around with this 15-year-old kid. They put her up on the stage and they embarrass her and they say all these terrible things. And they did that to me too at the end.
It's like the Inquisition. They like put you up in front of everyone.
It was kind of like their form of punishment.
Right.
But I want to answer this guy's question. Like I said, all the answers are just so fucking big.
Yeah.
Sure.
So for me, like, relationships are a very bizarre thing because what I kept learning through all of that, even as a young person, God, if these people would just get motherfucking honest.
Yeah.
If these people, like, the only reason that I work in and around the porn industry today is because that's me still trying to educate myself.
Interesting.
That's me still trying to understand all of the weird little psychosexual things that I saw that my therapist hasn't even been able to see. Like, and I'm still trying to do the math, like figure out, okay, why does all this happen? Years ago, there was just gay, straight, and bi.
Right.
A few years ago, this alphabet comes out. I knew about the fucking alphabet by the time I was 10.
Wow.
Because I saw all this behind-the-scenes shit.
You didn't know that's what it was called, but you certainly knew it was all there.
We didn't know what it was called.
Yeah, of course.
Back then, we just said gay, straight, and bi. That was it.
Right.
And then there was even big arguments about the bi section of things. But, so for me, it's like, the hardest thing is definitely I'm not going to say it's the hardest thing, but the one that I can actually like verbalize, because people ask me and I can never fucking think of an example. It's definitely relationships.
Right.
I saw hetero relationships growing up, but then I saw this behind the scenes stuff. Once I was a teen, I started dating women. Sometimes it was great, sometimes the sex was great, sometimes it just wasn't, and I couldn't really I don't know, I could never feel much of a connection. And actually one of the last girls that I dated, I remember we were going for a hike one day, and she was asking me about past sexual encounters and girlfriends and this and that, and she randomly asked if I'd ever been in an orgy, and I said, well, yeah, and then and she kind of stopped in her tracks, and then she acted like she was gonna throw up. She acted like she was gonna get sick, and she was
really almost rhetorically asking the question. She did not expect you to say yes.
Yeah, and she was like, I can't, I hate that, I blah blah blah, and I was so fucking angry at her.
Oh sure,
I was like fucking righteous angry at her. I was like, all of us loved each other. Like the first one that I was ever in, all of us fucking loved each other. We would say I love you. And then one night we're having a party and this thing ensues, and it was lovely.
Yeah.
And it was but I mean, the thing, I've been to some fucking sleazy orgies too, but the thing about this is it's like to me that felt like this is what all of those people should have been doing back in that cult.
Right.
Honestly, sexual repression is the biggest component of mental illness, the biggest thing that leads to stress and all kinds of stuff, and violence, especially violence. The more sexually repressed you are, the more angry, pissed off you are all the fucking time.
Oh my god, I have to some street smart shit for you. So on Grindr, so on Grindr, there's it's like a menu, and you see pictures of the faces. Most of it is just they described it as a male's torso or something. Right. But then there are those the blank profiles that don't have anything on it.
Right.
So
did you
I've had to.
Real quick?
What happened?
No, I was looking at YouTube because I noticed you were clocking Facebook, so I was just checking the other platform.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, no worries.
No, well, anyway, what I'm talking about is so there are these blank profiles that won't have anything on it.
Right, yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah, so this is kind of a weird big thing.
Yeah.
So as an adult homosexual male who is a zennial, who's old enough to have experienced what life was like post 9/11 for gay people, what that meant for us, because it meant a lot of things for a lot of different groups at that time, and not all the groups knew what was going on with the other group during the post 9/11 life. Yeah. If I'm ever talking to a younger fag, and I have to give them some sort of street smart never talk to strangers type thing, I got to tell them, you got to avoid those fucking blank profiles, because a lot of those blank profiles are these people like the folks back in my church. These men that are fucking married, they got kids, they got a house, this and that, but they are the Q at the end of the alphabet, and God bless them, really God bless them, but they're not coming out and admitting that they are the Q at the end of the alphabet.
Right.
The Q stands for questioning. Don't let anybody ever tell you it means queer. That's not what it means.
I was corrected about that not long ago, and very happily so.
It's big, and this is why.
Yeah.
Because
that's my letter, as it turns out.
That's your letter?
Well,
okay.
Most of my material as a stand-up is about my sexuality.
Right.
And I for a while I was saying on stage, I'm not... They keep adding letters, and I still don't even know which one of them's mine. And someone came up after the show, and they were like, the Q is yours. And they were like, everything you just explained is exactly that. It's not. And I thought I immediately was like, I thought it was queer, and they're like, everyone who gives a shit is trying to tell everyone that that's not what it is, because the Q is so important.
And it's important
because
go on and
tell us why.
Okay, it's important because so here I am, if I'm talking to the young fag and trying to give him or her some probably a him some
Chicago accent. These young fags over here.
These young if I'm trying to give him an education on how to be street smart in 2019 on this fucking app, I'm going to explain to him that blank profile. There's a good chance that is a Q married man who has children, and there's a good chance when you guys hook up, he's gonna hurt you. He's going to hurt you physically. Because a lot of these guys, not you obviously, you're a fucking saving grace because you freely admit you're a Q. The guys that can't admit they're a Q are the guys who have almost zero education, not just about gay life, but sexuality within that.
Right.
And so, they're so afraid of losing masculinity oftentimes, and when they hook up with some young thing, they have to treat them the way they would a woman. Because in their mind, they feel like, well, I still have to be the man. That way, if anybody says something, I can say, well, I'm not gay.
Maybe even
because
more
I was
so
still
than they normally would.
And then it's happened to me. It happened to me a few years ago. I went on a date with a guy, and it was, my own fucking mistake, and I was old enough to know. It was a blank profile. We meet up. We start talking. I get the sense like, oh, he hasn't come out. And then and then I get back to his place, and the motherfucker rapes me.
Oh my god!
Jeez,
and it's like, but the thing of it is, like the whole time that shit is going on, I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, he doesn't understand that that's what he's doing right now.
What did you see? He's dominating you like you're a woman.
That's what he thinks he's doing because in his mind, someday a conversation is going to come up and he needs to be able to say that he was still somehow straight, that he was still somehow the man of the thing. And
he has to be able to tell himself the story that he needs to hear.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
And so so for me, it's like when I hear people talk about all this Me Too stuff, and there's a lot of, I hang out with a lot of straight dudes in the band scene and this and that, and a lot of them get kind of angry at the Me Too movement. It's just a thing.
Oh,
and
man,
the reason
comics that come to this
place,
I
hear some fucking
they're furious
comments
about it. And the
Jesus,
the thing that kind of scares me in all of it is the number of people who won't come forward as a result.
Right.
The number of people who are not fucking faking it, and the number of people who will probably kill themselves because some dumb bitch over here decides she's gonna fucking fake it, and Me Too this guy. That woman's a cunt.
Sure,
but she's taken away from the fact that so many people have been molested or raped or something like that. Real people really hurting, and then the moment that one fucking idiot decides to lie about it, it takes away from
but
real people,
then the thing what I'm getting at, talking about these blank profiles, these Q guys that don't have the guts to explain what's going on. So imagine, I turn around and I want to like get this guy thrown in jail, whatever. That guy doesn't realize what he did was wrong. That guy doesn't fucking realize. He doesn't realize what he did. Fortunately, I'm old enough, I'm smart enough, I'm fucking street smart enough to understand, holy shit, this guy genuinely doesn't understand it. Get Out came out a couple years ago, and the big thing in that movie is he's pointing out hypocrisy among the left. Yeah. Throughout the film, and the kind of, the little places where racism is still hidden, kind of where it pops out, and in the vernacular, this and that, like, it's kind of the same thing in this situation. It's like those fears are still there, so there is still that danger.
Yeah.
So
it's an interesting thing, right?
This is good advice too for you young fags out there.
Yeah, but no, I mean, like, but more so to like the Q folks out there, it's fucking okay to be Q.
Yeah.
My whole thing with explaining the Q to people is it's like the reason that Q is there at the end of the alphabet is so that you don't have to fucking turn around and do something stupid that you don't understand, like, oh shit, I've just committed a sex crime.
Right.
Well, then if it's like, especially like I feel like your Gen Xers and your and even as far up as baby boomers and stuff like that, a lot of guys are and have been married for years, and
Right.
now that like just culturally it's becoming okay to be whatever the fuck you want to be.
Yeah.
They're like finding themselves like just feeling trapped
Right.
in these fucking relationships where it's like, I got this wife, I got these fucking kids, but I know I'm gay or I know I'm bi.
And it
or
becomes even bigger, I think, than just the sexuality, because if you think about that isolated, obviously that's a big thing. I mean, as I mentioned, I talk a lot of on stage as a comic about being from a conservative background and trying to sort myself out. But that being said, that fighting that fight, especially if you're from a way more conservative background religiously, where that's like deeply sinful, which for those who aren't from that background, the word sin literally means like to err as a human being, like to be bad at being a person, which is, you can't fuck up worse than that. It's the worst kind of fuck up you can do. So if you come from a place where that's something, you're dealing with all that, that's one thing. Let's just imagine, as crazy as that is, that big thing, you just set that aside for a second. If you're married, or even just in a serious relationship, I mean, I was with a girl that I almost married, and we lived together for almost 5 years, and I wasn't leaving her for a man, and splitting up was still like happened way later than it should have, because the idea of changing your life in that huge way when you've planted roots in other people.
Yeah, when you become so codependent.
It's massive. So
yeah,
you add
man.
that along with, I'm also gay, and I'm trying to
and now I have
express
to tell all my family at 40
all that
that I want to be with men.
I'm not saying,
which you should, guys.
Yeah, I want to push to support
you really
that.
should,
I
actually.
want to
For
support
yourself,
that,
man.
but I
Fucking
also,
get out
at
of
the
there.
same time, it's like I can also feel that thing of like, it's not an easy thing to ask people to do, but the important things in life that must be done are not easy. So,
No, they're not. And I mean, it's funny too if you read like statistics. You know, Zennials, millennials, like we don't care about marriage the way that the Gen Xers did, the way that the Boomers did. Like, it's just.
And my thing is, I there's no way I can get married because I just don't know I will never know myself enough to know how I'm going to feel in 2 years, let alone, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how the fuck I'm going to feel about anything.
You can't say forever to someone else because you can't say it to yourself.
Never.
Right.
No. I barely can commit to what kind of hair I like on a person I want to fuck. Let alone fucking commit to one person forever, dude. Like, it's never gonna happen. And I feel like a lot of us are realizing that, and it's why none of us Zennials and Millennials want to do that shit.
Well, it's like so
Not
many of
buying
us are
houses or people for the long
so
term.
many of us are becoming aware, and you know what? Maybe it has something to do with the fact that reality TV has been around for almost 30 years now, and as time has progressed. You know, the three of us know because we work in the industry that most reality TV is fucking fake anyway. The rest of the world doesn't know that.
None of the stuff I make, it's all very real.
Okay.
Please don't fire
me. But I kind of feel like because we've all grown up with that, there is this sort of thing that just wants to see reality.
Yeah.
And the thing that fascinates me about this alphabet, LGBTQ, that came about post-social media.
Yeah.
Correct,
Something that I did, I mentioned that year of my life that I took off to drive up and down California.
And how old were you at that time? That year?
29.
Okay, word.
29. So it wasn't that long ago. Yeah. During that time, I had this idea. I was just going to start openly talking about it on Facebook.
Oh,
I started openly talking about,
your sexuality or the cult?
No, about the cult.
Okay, got it.
Oh, wow.
I
So
started
this is something
openly.
you shared it with people,
Yeah,
right?
I put it out there, and my thought was, because we all have a million friends, we don't remember who they are, or like we just have all these friends. I wanted to kind of see like what responses I would get, and sure enough, do we have a?
Just Chris Corwin, my hero.
Oh.
He said, "Thank you for this honest and fascinating conversation." So thank you for
Oh,
watching.
yeah.
it,
Yeah,
man.
thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. But anyway, so I put this out there because I wanted. It was bait. I wanted to see like, how are people going to react to this? First of all, I needed to know like, okay, was that actually a cult? Because again, the weirdest fucking part of coming from something like that is the fact that even today, 10 years later, I still fucking wonder.
Right.
And that is because I have been mentally fucking stabbed. Basically.
Yeah, that's my question earlier about where's the line there. So
yeah,
it makes a lot of sense that you figured that out.
So the thing that that was interesting to me. So I started kind of posting about it and getting open and honest about it, and then the next thing I know, I get kind of a divide between people, which is what I was afraid would happen, but I knew it would. I got a divide of people who were suddenly shunning me, but not just shunning me.
Yeah.
Like they were taking it to a weird place where I would get private messages that were threatening. It eventually kind of culminated in this creepy woman, really creepy fucking woman, calling me.
What the fuck?
These are people that were still in the group?
Yeah.
Got it.
Wow.
I'll tell you this story real quick because this is fucking insane.
Sure.
This woman, I'm making all these posts, and during that time, like I said, I'm driving up and down California. I'm meeting different people. I'm talking to different people. I wound up in a fucking house. These people were trying to build a pyramid out in the desert, and we sat down to dinner, and there was a fucking gun being passed around the table, and it was just.
Whoa.
So, during all this time, this woman, she's called Mary Christian on Facebook.
Gross.
And she keeps commenting things like, oh, you poor baby, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. You know what, we should talk. And I just got a fucking feeling about this bitch. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to talk to her because I'm going to learn something.
I'm so scared right now.
And so
Legitimately
she and I exchanged phone numbers. And then it was summertime. It was hot as fuck. And I call her. It's like 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
Because we had scheduled, we were going to talk. I didn't know this woman. I became friends with her because she was a friend of my brother's who was going to this fucking ministry school that they paid $7,000 to learn how to raise the dead, and it was just complete fucking malarkey. And
what the fuck?
So I call this woman, and I'm like, hello, and she's like, oh, hi. And she starts laughing, like as soon as she gets on the phone with me, and I was like, what's so funny, Mary? And she said, well, this morning I painted my toenails yellow, but I really wanted red nail polish, and so I was praying, God, if you love me, will you just turn my nails from yellow to red? And when the phone rang, I picked it up, and it was you, and I looked down, and they're red now. She and so I'm just sitting there on the phone.
Crazy.
I'm sitting there on the phone, and the funny thing for me is that I don't even have that reaction. For me, it's just like,
I mean, firsthand,
oh yeah,
goddamn.
these, she's one of them. She's fucking one of them. This is a goddamn cult, And then, it was kind of like everything just started really holy shit, man, this was really my life.
Wow.
And then she, and then she explains to me, she's like, so I have this friend who grew up like you, but it was a Satanist cult, and so now we're all going to this church in Pasadena. And I would just love it if you could come meet us and the pastor, and we'll just, we'll just talk and get to know each other. And I, the hairs on my fucking stood up.
Yeah,
I can
you just
relate
had a
to it
fucking
right
sixth
now.
sense
And
you knew this shit was bad.
I basically said, okay, Mary, we'll be in touch. And I hung up, and then I blocked her on everything.
Yes.
I crawled into a corner of my room, and I just had a fucking PTSD seizure.
Oh, God,
and then I just kind of realized, oh my God, that's really what all of that was.
Wow. That was the click moment.
That was the big final click moment for me. Yeah. But it was, and it was at that 29, I had been out of it, I guess out of it since 20, since I was, so it was 9 years of just still kind of fucking wondering.
It's got to be heartbreaking too, especially since you had such a reaction to her phone call, to 9 fucking years out. You think maybe a lot of you is over a lot of it, and then just to be brought right fucking back into that.
Oh yeah.
Shit,
so what's the recovery from that, man? Because you seem really on top of your shit. I mean, you're trying. I'm sure we all want to think so about ourselves.
We're all
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We love to see you coming out here to Fourth Wall, which I want to get to that at some point about what made you decide to start trying to stand up and stuff like that. That's really interesting to me. But so you have that moment. What's in my head, in the narrative, you're still in that corner. So what's the next thing? What brought you out of that? What got you? You know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this with my life.
The fuck out. I mean,
or move to the new city.
I did that many times.
Right.
Well, at this point, I was already living in LA. I moved to LA in 2010 when I was 25.
Okay.
And it was actually moving to LA was probably what I don't know. Like I said, when I was younger and I saw the beach and I started to kind of like, oh, I think this is cult, right? But then I moved and then I didn't want to think about it. But then because I was suddenly out of that town and seeing cultures, different kinds of people,
right.
you know, like suddenly I'm realizing like, holy shit, I said the most racist things growing up. And so...
And Rob probably just had no fucking idea, right?
You know, just kind of like these fucking guys that don't...
I mean, was it just fucking white people, basically?
It was mostly white people, and the few non-white straight people there went through fucking hell. Like, oh, you know, the cop's son. I found out he did that to all the gay folks. Like, that was basically
really?
Their way of kind of like...
very odd fucking thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, let alone...
Oh, but you're asking about the healing or the recovery afterwards?
I guess so, yeah.
It's
because you don't see him in that place now. You know what I mean? That's still so cataclysmic. It does seem like.
Oh yeah, no, I finally
quite a ways from that.
Oh, I had some bad episodes after.
And not to say that struggle ended on that day. I'm sure it was part of an era. But what do you think it was that allowed you to move on, to start trying to have a new life, to go, okay, you know what? That is the story. That is what happened.
Yeah.
Now it's time for Act 2, Chapter 2, whatever. Like, what do you think what was it, a person or an activity or a job or a thing that what came into your life that gave you something else to do and focus on?
It was the band.
Word up.
Yeah, because I was, I moved to LA after I got out of the cult, and then I managed to like worm my way into high school for a senior year to know what it felt like to be a fucking kid in school.
Did you say you faked transcripts to get in?
I made fake transcripts for my brother and I.
You dropped that earlier. That's fucking
badass.
So
after
catch me if you can. After that, I wormed my way into an acting conservatory up in Northern California. I make jokes about it because I wanted to learn how to act like people.
That's crazy.
And I became a really great fucking actor. And
I don't doubt it.
I mean, I guess you'd have to in a lot of ways, especially if you're brought up a little weird. I mean, you gotta.
Oh yeah.
And then you meet normal people, and you're like, don't let them know how weird you are. Keep it
for sure. This is my favorite. I acted conservatory also was my college experience.
Cool.
And it is psychology.
Yeah,
that's all you're really doing. I
minored in psychology and majored in theater because I was like, I'm just studying how to be a good human,
how to be a
or at least how to pretend how to be a good fucking human.
Yeah, not
man.
even just morally or ethically good, but like operationally good, like a good at talking to people, like engaging,
you have a charm about you, which is impressive for somebody who grew up in the situation you did. Like, to be charming and to be charismatic, it seems like something that like only like you'd have to develop younger. But the fact that you never had the chance to develop something like that it's kind of fascinating.
Agreed.
The short answer to what you're asking, like, what's it's the anger for me. Because I did all these things that they weren't crazy to me, that, making the fake transcripts, doing all the crazy things that I've done. I really just did them to survive.
Out of necessity.
Because I was angry. I was angry that I had come from all of this. And I loved the idea of giving the middle finger to fucking everybody, and, well, hey, this is happening now. Watch this.
Yeah.
And I was in this band, and, I get up on stage, and we played some crazy shows, and I did some crazy fucking things on stage. And, the kind of constant thing, people would come to me afterwards, and they would always say something along the lines of, you made me feel like I could be myself tonight. It made me feel like I could be fucking free tonight. And so for me, it's like, I can't lose that fucking anger.
Right.
Because I have seen what happens to the human brain when you put it in a place where everything is repressed and it doesn't even get the option to fucking explore.
Yeah.
You have somebody who is 57 years old, but for all intents and purposes, that motherfucker is 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't matter if they fucking died tomorrow. They never lived.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but that's the way you describe it, and I'm kind of oddly surprised she didn't end up in a cult. My sister is very much like that. My sister's almost 40 years old, but she's 15 years old in her head, you know. And it's a developmental thing all the way down to fundamental interactions with other people, the inability to, and maybe it is a spectrum thing, you know, maybe it is almost Asperger's. It's like you can't, and when I was working with the kids at that school, there were a number of kids who had their disability was, and this comes in a number of different diagnoses, but not being able to understand nonverbal cues is a fascinating thing that happens to human beings that has been going on to humans forever, and we just have been calling it's like how we used to refer to certain things like homosexuality as like psychosis. We are still to this day, there are these people that we just call them weirdos. They're not weirdos. They're just regular people who, when you give this look and you're like,
they don't understand
know
that
what
you're
that
going
means.
like,
Exactly.
It means nothing to them. They're like, your face is weird. Anyway, I'm going to keep talking. And you're like, God, this asshole. And he's like, he's not an asshole. He doesn't get it.
Yeah, some people
he doesn't understand your language in that way.
Well, that's the same thing I was saying earlier. You know, that there are so many people that do not understand what they are doing, why they're doing it, that they're even doing it in the first place.
Some people never even think about why they do anything.
No.
Like, some people are just fucking marching through life like, I'm doing things.
Yeah.
Never once taking a fucking second. Sigmund Freud, a bit of a cunt because of what he said about the Irish. Literally said the Irish are impervious to psychological treatment because they have no ability to think inwardly. Which, fuck you, Freud. But that's, you know what, man?
Who studied the human brain.
Man who made the father of modern psychology thinks the Irish are a bunch of dumb motherfuckers.
He's also the modern father of doing cocaine and telling everyone they're wrong. So
that's my favorite thing to do.
You want to fuck your mother, don't you?
You're a fucking failure.
I think everyone wants a dick. That's what it is. That's what it is.
I think I have a penis in me. Yeah.
I wish we had cocaine right now. Jesus, can you just put it here on the table for us?
Jesus, we're going to close our eyes.
The Bible says that if everybody says amen, it shall be done. Amen. And there it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Feel great.
I have so much cocaine here now. Oh, wait, that's just powdered sugar. I'm
Those
fat.
holy lines. Holy lines.
Okay, I want to ask one more question, then we're going to wrap up because we are fucking, we're at an hour and 10 minutes.
So bad.
Okay, the Lee again wants to ask you. You talked about your individuality in AA. I'm curious as to how you sought to maintain that. What was your higher power? So in other words, what do you call God now?
I don't. There was a time I gave it a name, and I didn't. I can't remember what the name is.
Because you have to accept a higher power in AA.
You do, and what I like about AA is that, you know, again, there's the difference. You get to choose what your higher power is.
Right.
But in other cults, no, this is the one.
Right.
This is the fucking one, and everything else is incorrect. You know, and to me, it's like, you know, if you're gonna have a cult, that's the healthy way to do it.
Right.
I don't call it anything. Sometimes I'll say God. Sometimes I'll say the universe. Oftentimes I think of God and evolution as the same thing.
Right.
But no, I don't really feel like I need to have a name for it. I don't feel like I don't have to call it God.
Do you look at it though as an omnipotent being, as something that is conscious, or do you look? Because I'm more of a pantheist, which is technically something that, like, the universe is God, but I don't think it's watching me jerk off.
Right.
I kind of hate that question, to be honest.
That's a hard fucking question, man.
Well, no, the thing that makes it hard for me is because you know, I spent all these years learning about the psychology, the sociology of these people that I came from. But the one, you know, and I learned all the science, you know, but then there was also the side of it where I'm kind of like, was that mental illness, or was that looking behind the fucking veil? You know, because there were. Oh, you want to hear a crazy fucking story?
Yes.
Let's wrap that up with a fucking crazy story. Let's do it.
Oh shit! I don't know if we should wrap it up with.
Fine.
So I'm a really good artist. I can draw very well.
I assumed you could. You just have that vibe about you.
Thanks.
Well, yeah, and he's a graphic designer. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
exactly. So as a young teenager in this fucking cult, before it started getting Lord of the Flies, The Beach, all that stuff, when it was still, mysterious and exciting and like, whoa, what the fuck is this? I would have visions, thoughts would pop in my head about people that I knew in the church. I would get a picture of like Sandy sitting in Jesus's lap in a green chair in a field, and then I would draw it, and I give it to Sandy, and she starts crying, and she says, "My daddy passed away years ago, and I used to sit in his lap just like that in a green chair, just like that."
Whoa!
And I drew about 150 of these. And we had a copy machine at our house, and I used to make copies of them. I still have about maybe 70 copies under my bed.
Wow, dude.
I honestly hate telling that story more than anything else because...
Does it give credence to...
Well, it's because it's like, I spent all these years... I spent the first half of my life just believing all these fantastic things.
Yeah.
And then I spent the next half of my life learning all the science behind what was happening. But then there's little things like that I can't really explain. I
love that though. Like I'm such an advocate for science, but at the same time, like I think in order to be as intelligent as you are, I think sometimes you can tap into parts of your brain that no one understands yet.
Yeah.
I think it's why, like, even coming from weird places, like sometimes something happens in your brain to where you can do things other people can't. And then, like, I'm not talking some X-Men fucking shit here, but I am saying some people can. Like, my grandmother, me and my dad always used to say the woman was psychic because she would just pop up, go, something's happening, and she'd just walk into another room, and then, like, my grandfather had fallen down.
Right.
Like, I mean, little things, like, just little things, like, and then I have a really good sense of how people are feeling, even if they're not showing any physical cues. Just because I don't know why. I don't know. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like,
there's definitely an intuition in all of us, I think, that you're either tapped into or you're not.
Science has no idea what that intuition is yet. They just got blanket statement words for it. So clearly, being someone as intelligent as you are, especially to do everything that you've done, considering your upbringing, you got something else going on in the old brain head that science can't explain. Maybe one day, but they can't now.
And I think it's okay to live in that unknowing a little bit too. Like, that's healthy also, like, to surrender to that. I think that's one of the reasons why I don't click as much with religion, and I was raised in a religious family, is like, I don't need to know why. I'm okay with I don't know. Like, there's a bunch of
that's true too.
Like, I'll lean on the things that I think I can see evidence of, and then the things that don't make sense to me, I can go, I don't fucking know, and I don't need to know it right now. I got stuff I gotta go do.
I train. I just want to like say one more thing. I train myself. This is one of the weirdest things that I like. My own education, this and that.
Right.
A long time ago, I got this thought in my head. I'm going to kind of train myself to appreciate books and movies that don't have endings. Where the story just stops.
People hate that shit.
People hate it, and you know what? Ever since I started doing it, it's been years. First of all, those types of movies are always my favorite now, and the reason for that is because it's the ultimate challenge.
Yeah, you have to come
to the audience. You have to figure out what it is, and god damn if you don't become a more intuitive, discerning human. Yeah. From simply doing that, from training yourself to not go into this critical place where we all have this bizarre conditioning where we all think we're fucking Roger Ebert to everything beyond just movies.
Everybody's a fucking critic now.
And nobody stops to ask, like, is this healthy? Is this a compulsion? Right. Is there something wrong with the fact that I always have to do this?
Right.
And what would happen if I don't?
Yeah.
And I'm saying if you don't, and this is after so many years of don'ting, I can just I don't suffer from that autistic thing of not being able to pick up the subtle. I pick them all up.
Right. Yeah.
I pick them all fucking up, and it's and I think that there's also something to be said about being in a community that is isolated from things, or just being in any kind of community. Like the gay community, for example. A lot of us are pretty good at picking up stuff like that because historically, gay folks, we had to live in secret and behind things.
Yeah, well, then also if you're talking to another guy, I imagine you'd want to know this guy down. You know what I mean? Like I imagine you'd want to know. And then what's more telling than picking up signals when people are flirting?
It's totally a thing too, right? Because like I remember growing up, like my introduction to homosexuality was in our community theater. Like I was raised in a really conservative group, and I didn't meet any men who were dating men or women who were dating women till then. And it was amazing to me the way they talked about people. This is totally true. I was playing Trivial Pursuit with a group of adults when I was like 15 at a party, and this conversation broke out in 2002, 2003, give or take, where all of the men in the room were like, listen, honey, Kevin Spacey is fucking gay. And all the women in the room, gay or straight, I mean the lesbians too, were going, nah, not Kevin Spacey. Like, come on. I mean, maybe, but probably not. Every single gay man in the room was like, we're not having a debate with you. I'm fucking telling you that he's gay. And this was, 10 years before even anything was public in any way about this guy.
Of the study of figuring, the subtle clues and shit like that. Yeah, and it's, and also, just picking up subtle stuff like that. And Regilio just said micro clues, which is one of my favorite scientific terms, because that if you're intelligent enough, and the brain, consciously we're not aware of everything at all times. However, like whenever you look at somebody, you're picking up all that information, whether you're really focusing on it or not.
Right.
And your brain's subconscious ability to gather micro clues and
decode
be like,
it.
But what stunts it, what stops it, is when we suddenly delve into that critiquing side of things.
We think
because
we have
the thing about delving into that is you have an opinion and then an end.
Yeah, you put it in a box and then you close it.
You do, and
like
then it's
personality test that I always hated.
Yeah.
Like, oh well, no, you're a J7, which means you get it. Or why I always hated astrology, because it's just like, oh, you're an Aries, you're supposed to be dominant all the time, and I'm like, I'm not. Sometimes I like to be sad.
Right.
Everyone who tells you things you don't like has a lisp.
Yeah. That's just, I'm making fun of people with speech impediments.
Lion whispers. You're a lion lisper.
Lion lisper.
Get out of my life.
Lying lisper sounds like some sort of futuristic slur somehow. You're a lion lisper.
You're a lion
Son of a
lisper.
bitch.
And your mom doesn't care about you.
You can't say that.
You can't say lying lisper anymore after 22.
Can I ask one last question?
Yeah, and then we'll close now.
So this is my last thing. If someone by chance were watching this and they enjoyed this whole thing, but now they got to the end of it and they're like, oh shit, maybe I'm in a fucking cult, what would you like say to somebody who feels like they're going through that? Like, obviously there's not an easy answer, because not all these situations are at all the same, but like mentally, what do you start doing to unpack and decide if that's the situation? You're like, how do you start going into that? How would you suggest that? Understand
first and foremost, there are many different types of cults. Some of them are large and very organized, and some of them are helpful, and some of them aren't, and some of them are creepy, and some of them follow this deity, and some of them are about no deity, and some of them just happen in school. Some of them are the kids sitting together who don't let this kid be a part of it.
So
understand, number one, that everything kind of can turn into a cult.
No, that's fucking
it really kind of can, right?
Yeah.
After that, if you find yourself asking, so what was it? Look at how the group you're in treats people who have left that group. Maybe leave that group for a bit. Try to come back in and see how they treat you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that will be your biggest tell.
That's great.
Yeah.
You guys, behind the fourth wall, this has been the most incredible episode I think I've done, and I've done some really incredible episodes.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks for doing this,
Boogie,
man.
thank you so fucking much, my friend.
Thank you.
A pleasure to talk to always. And also, we got pretty deep, but this man is fucking hilarious. And also one of the most talented performers that comes here for sure. You play some sort of kazoo thing. We'll talk about that next time. It's just a really good time. All right, you guys. This has been Behind the Fourth Wall with Travis Clyburn, Rob Morris, Boogiewhip.